Hi guys, Tom here and welcome to a new video, and today I'm doing the review of WWE Hell in a Cell 2013. Click that subscribe button in the top left hand corner and you can subscribe to my channel for lots and lots of daily WWE uploads and Hell in a Cell 2013 coverage. And if you want to have a full show 720p HD link to watch the show if you didn't watch it on a live stream, do tweet me or Facebook me in the links in the description. So now we're going to get on to the review of the full show of the WWE Hell in a Cell 2013 pay-per-view, which came from Miami, Florida, in the American Airlines Arena in, of course, Miami, Florida. And I'm going to do my full show review. Every single match is going to be reviewed on this video. I'm going to give you my thoughts and reviews of every single match, what happened, what I thought of the results, and I'm going to give a rating at the end of the video of the whole pay-per-view. So Hell in a Cell 2013 only had 3 weeks build towards the show, so I didn't have very high expectations for the show, as they didn't give themselves a lot of time to build towards the show and make a really good match card. But honestly, going into this pay-per-view, I thought the match card was okay. There was some good standout matches to me. For the first thing first, I thought the John Cena versus Alberto Del Rio match really took my fancy. The Punk versus Ryback and Paul Heyman match did quite take my fancy as well. And, of course, the Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan match took my fancy. And the Cody Rhodes Goldust versus The Shield and Usos match was really a match I was looking forward to before the pay-per-view started. So there's 4 decent matches I was actually looking forward to for when this pay-per-view did in fact start, and I was quite disappointed at the end of the day how these matches transpired. But we did kick off the Hell in a Cell 2013 pay-per-view on the kickoff show, and after the kickoff show and the full show, we did in fact get a new World Heavyweight Champion and a new WWE Champion crowned at the end of the show. But at the start of the show, of every single full show, we always have a kickoff show to start off a pay-per-view. And this kickoff show featured a match between Damien Sandow and Kofi Kingston, and a panel including Josh Matthews, R-Truth, Dolph Ziggler, Kalen, and later Big E Langston. Now, if you're wondering why we didn't have Curtis Axel versus Big E Langston for the Intercontinental Championship, Curtis Axel was in fact injured last week on Monday Night Raw, so they were waiting for their medical test to come through on the Friday night, and they only got them on the Friday, so they had to announce a new match to take up the kickoff show time, and Damien Sandow and Kofi Kingston got the nod to make a cool little match during the kickoff show. And I honestly think they didn't disappoint. But starting off, we did have a few panel of judges, including Dolph Ziggler, Caitlyn, and R-Truth, a few of the superstars who haven't really been that relevant within the WWE for the past few months. So I think it was great to add all Dolph Ziggler, R-Truth, and Caitlyn to this panel to make them slightly more relevant. You've got some stars like Zack Ryder who didn't even actually make the show, so to have Dolph Ziggler and Caitlyn especially actually do something on the show, being on the panel, and they did in fact feature throughout the show, giving their thoughts during a few snippets of the show on the panel. They did cut to the panel there was a few parts through the actual show on pay-per-view where they went to the panel a few times. So it was great that Dolph Ziggler and Caitlyn especially, maybe not so R-Truth because he's had his time in the WWE, they did in fact feature on the actual pay-per-view giving their thoughts, so it does kind of make them slightly more relevant within WWE. They didn't have enough time to put these guys in a match, but it's cool that they did actually feature on the pay-per-view and they're actually still keeping relevant within the WWE. And I did think Dolph Ziggler did add something to the actual panel. I thought Caitlyn's words were very scripted and didn't really add anything to the actual panel, but I thought Dolph Ziggler did do actually quite okay. I know he's quite funny, he's a comedian actually in real life, but I thought he was quite cool to be on the panel and give some good thoughts, and he was quite funny. But apart from that, nobody really listens to the panel. They don't really listen to it because they all know it's scripted. It doesn't really add to your excitement. They're told what to say. They're told to make you believe that a match is going to go a certain way to make you buy the pay-per-view and build that anticipation towards the show. And at the end of the day, nobody really listens to the panel. But I did like how they had Dolph Ziggler and Caitlyn on there, especially just to make them slightly more relevant and do something on this pay-per-view, even though they weren't actually booked in any kind of matches. But they were just building the matches up, especially for the John Cena match. They were playing down John Cena, saying how he wasn't really ready for this pay-per-view. And they were also bigging up the Shawn Michaels special guest referee. But we did have a snippet of The Miz asking Vicky Guerrero if he could have a match tonight on the pay-per-view, and she said no, he wasn't medically cleared, so The Miz said he was going to have a fight with Bray Wyatt. The thing I didn't like about this is, do they really think we care about The Miz? Do they really think that we want to see The Miz beat up somebody? He's well overdue a heel turn. He doesn't give anything to the WWE. It's just what we've already seen from The Miz. He doesn't have that ruthless aggression. He just doesn't show anything new towards the WWE universe. It's just a bit stale from The Miz. And honestly, did they really think that we were interested in Miz getting Bray Wyatt, his hands on Bray Wyatt? We really didn't care about this. It was just a little bit of a waste of time, because actually on the show, he didn't actually get his hands on Bray Wyatt, and we'll find out later what happens on that in my review. But that was just a nice little segment we got in the middle of the kickoff show to waste a little bit of time. The Miz advertising he wants his hands on Bray Wyatt. So that was adding some anticipation, some excitement towards the pay-per-view. Maybe a few people might have bought that if they're Miz fans. Yeah, but maybe they just added that to add some anticipation and a bit more excitement into the pay-per-view, making fans wonder if Miz would get his hands on Bray Wyatt. But he didn't really add anything. Nobody really cares about The Miz. He's a bit stale. He's a bit boring. He's not anything fresh or new. He's well overdue a heel turn. He's a natural heel. He just doesn't work very well as a face. Against the Wyatts especially, who are really over at the moment, and anybody can enjoy and respect the gimmick of the Wyatts. It's somebody like The Miz going up against the Wyatts doesn't really work for me, considering the Wyatts are so over with the crowd. But we then finally got onto the match between Damien Sandow and Kofi Kingston, and this match wasn't really going to be anything special. There was absolutely no build to this match, considering it was only announced about 2 hours before the show that this match had replaced the Curtis Axel and Big E Langston Intercontinental Championship match on the kickoff show, so it wasn't going to be anything special, and I personally thought they chose the right man to win this match, Damien Sandow. Now, we all know Damien Sandow has got that Money in the Bank briefcase, and all the time, whenever somebody wins that Money in the Bank briefcase, they always make them go on a losing streak, so when they finally cash in, it's unexpected when they do. But at the same time, they don't realise that you're burying the guy that's supposedly going to win a world championship when he does actually cash in. The right thing you should be doing is building a guy up so that when he does cash in, he gains some more momentum. Because when the guy cashes in for the world championship and he's been on this losing streak, he goes from 0 to average. He's not, when you want them to cash in, you want them to make a big impact. You want the fans to believe that he's actually going to win that match when he cashes in, and he's going to go on to a decent title run. They did it with Dolph Ziggler, where he went on a losing streak. He lost a big name of Chris Jericho at SummerSlam 2012, and he only had a 1-month title reign because they buried him so much. So when he cashed in, he didn't have a lot of momentum. They couldn't really do a lot with him. He wasn't exactly over with the crowd at that particular time, and then he only had a 1-month reign because they couldn't really do a lot with him. And the guy who cashed it on, Del Rio, needed the momentum a lot more than Dolph Ziggler. It really didn't work out for Dolph Ziggler. They didn't really use it right. They waited way too long for Dolph Ziggler to cash in. They buried him too much by the time he went to cash in. It just didn't really work out. And we weren't really meant to believe that Dolph Ziggler was really going to have a good lengthy title reign when he'd been buried against guys such as Chris Jericho. So for Damien Sandow to get the win here, I thought was a really good way to start or kick off the pay-per-view. In my honest opinion, it was just a Monday Night Raw match, a little bit more quicker paced than a Monday Night Raw match, but at the end of the day, both Kofi Kingston and Damien Sandow used their same boring maneuvers. It wasn't, you know, usually in the kickoff shows, you don't usually get any real new maneuver during the match. You always have a typical Kofi Kingston moveset used in this matchup, a typical Damien Sandow moveset used in this match, pretty much a fast-paced version of a Monday Night Raw. But in my honest opinion, I didn't quite enjoy this match. I thought it was very fast-paced, even though it was a little bit of a glorified version of a Monday Night Raw on an actual pay-per-view. I thought the matchup itself was quite interesting. It did have that sense of excitement, considering it was on the pay-per-view, and the crowd were pretty hot for this match as well. They were into this match as well. Very pro Kofi Kingston. Well, they were actually pro face throughout this full show as well, but they were quite for Kofi Kingston, which did add a little bit more excitement into this match. Usually for the kickoff shows, you do have a very big heel versus a very big face. So you had Kofi Kingston against Damien Sandow, two opposite guys at the other opposite end of the spectrum. You've got a big face versus a big heel. So get the crowd into all the matches. You've got to have the crowd chanting from the start up, and you had the crowd going for Kofi Kingston, which is great. That's what they wanted from this match, but the heel did in fact win this match. Usually I'm not a fan of the heels winning on kickoff shows because obviously you want the crowd to be excited, you want them to be in the match from the get-go, but Damien Sandow won this match, gained some momentum for the Money in the Bank briefcase holder. Hopefully he can start building some more momentum. And he did firstly use his new finishing maneuver, You're Welcome, debuting it on a pay-per-view. He's used it before, but it's the first time he's used it on a pay-per-view, so hopefully he can use that more times, maybe on tonight's Monday Night Raw, and that's a little bit more momentum for Damien Sandow that he can carry on. So for me, great match, quite fast-paced, and maybe the movesets weren't great. There wasn't many unique moves in there, but for me, I'm happy Damien Sandow finally got the win on a kickoff show, and he did in fact get a win. So momentum for Damien Sandow, hopefully to be carried on. For me, 7 out of 10. It got the crowd into the match. They were very pro for Kofi Kingston, and they did choose the right man to get the victory, and he did in fact get a clean victory, not a half victory for Damien Sandow. It was a clean victory, so I'm happy for Damien Sandow to get that victory there. And then we went on to the full show. So for me, that was a 7 out of 10, I think I'll give it. And then we went on to the full show on pay-per-view, which was Kofi Kingston and Goldust, the tag team champions, versus the Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, the Shield, versus the Usos. And I really like this match. I honestly think this match was my favourite match of the whole night. I thought it was a really good match between these guys in a triple threat tag team match. I was really for this match. I think I explained it in my prediction video that the Usos had only really been added to this match to play off the #1 contendership they were handed to about a month ago. But the thing I did like about this match was that adding the Usos did add a little bit more spice to this match. It added a little bit more uniqueness and some high-flying excitement in this match. And without a doubt, it added that. This was one hell of a match. There was some really good spots in this match. The thing I like about these guys are Cody Rhodes and Goldust. They're really over with the crowd and were even more over with this match. But considering the crowd are so over with Cody Rhodes and Goldust, adds some great charisma in this match for Cody Rhodes and Goldust. For Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, they always guarantee a really good finish to this match, so it adds some even more excitement to this match. And also the Usos always add some awesome high-flying action to a match, so it was just some awesome chemistry, or some awesome elements all mixing into one great match, which I absolutely fucking loved. This match was a really good match. One standout moment in this match was in fact the superplex by Cody Rhodes onto Seth Rollins, which went outside the ring, hitting a few of the guys, including Goldust and Roman Reigns and one of the Usos. That was a really good spot. The crowd went absolutely apeshit for that spot. It was really good, and from then on it was kind of a trigger or a catalyst for the ending of the match, and the ending of the match did not disappoint. It was just absolutely crazy. The crowd was absolutely into this match. They were so over with this match. They were bought absolutely into this match. Usually a match which starts off a show has really good build into this match, and of course this match has some really good build into this match, because 2 weeks ago, Cody Rhodes and Goldust became the new tag team champions. I think this match, this build-up had really had a good main event push between the Shield. I think it had some really good juiciness going into this match. The crowd were already really into it, but the ending just added that other element of awesomeness into this match. First, they were already into this match before it started. It was a good match to start this match. You had some good elements in this match. You had the fact that it had some good build. It had some good timing to this match. They gave it a good 10 to 15 minutes of this match. It was a championship match. It had all the right elements into this match, and it did not disappoint. The ending was absolutely phenomenal. I think it was Seth Rollins went for, I think it was Roman Reigns, went for a punch on Goldust. He ducked, and then Goldust went for the punch himself on Roman Reigns, and then, it was Seth Rollins, and then Cody Rhodes reversed that. Cody Rhodes went from the punch on Goldust to punch on Seth Rollins. Cody Rhodes finished it up with the crossroads on Seth Rollins. Another amazing crossroads on Seth Rollins. The crowd went absolutely wild for this ending. Well, they were wild for this match as a whole, but for this ending especially, the crowd went wild. 1, 2, 3. And yet again, the Shield get a loss in this match. The only thing I could say about this negative a negative I could say about this match was the Usos didn't take the pinfall. Now, the thing I didn't like about the Shield losing at the last pay-per-view was the Shield are still being built. They're still guys that need being built. They're still establishing themselves as main eventers. And losing at the Battleground pay-per-view did lose a little bit of momentum for the Shield, considering Cody Rhodes and Goldust earned so much momentum in that match. It did slightly bury the Shield at the Battleground 2013 pay-per-view. A week later, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns went and lost their tag team titles, and then in this match they lose yet again and they take the pinfall. For me, I think the Usos, the WWE should have known that the Usos should be the ones taking the pinfall. At least don't let the Shield take the pinfall in this match so they don't lose even more momentum. The Usos were perfect for taking that pinfall. They're not ready for this main event spot. Get them out of this feud as quick as possible. They added excitement into this match, but they're not going any further in this tag team division at this current time. They're not ready for these tag team champions as of yet. They've got a good half a year before they're considering getting the tag team titles, so make the Usos get pinned by the faces. Make the Usos, one of Jimmy or Jay, take the pinfall. The only reason I can think of why Cody Rhodes and Goldust didn't pin the Usos was so that Cody Rhodes and Goldust could pin a heel, so that it could put them over even more with the crowd. But honestly, I think the Usos should have been pinned here. It would have not buried Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns as much. I mean, considering it was a 33% chance that Cody Rhodes and Goldust would win this match, put them over quite well. But the fact that Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns were pinned in this match, there was a 50-50 chance that they were pinned. I was pretty disappointed in this match, and I think the Usos should have been pinned here so that Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns didn't lose as much as momentum, and they did in fact lose in this match, but making them not have the pinfall, they wouldn't have lost as much momentum. But for me, Cody Rhodes and Goldust winning this match is great. I think Cody Rhodes and Goldust holding on to these titles as much as possible can make Goldust and Cody Rhodes, especially Cody Rhodes, establish himself as a main eventer. He's not quite yet there, so hopefully a few more months down the line, considering he's getting so much momentum and already really over with the crowd. There was great energy in this match, and Cody Rhodes really showed a lot of charisma in this match. Really proves that Cody Rhodes is going to get even more established in the next few months and going to get even more over with the crowd. Keeping the straps on Cody Rhodes and Goldust for the next few months is a great idea. I can see them going all the way to Royal Rumble when Goldust apparently may turn on Cody Rhodes to set up a WrestleMania match, but keeping the titles on Cody Rhodes especially gives the opportunity for Cody Rhodes to keep giving himself that main event push, keep getting himself over with the crowd with them titles, and hopefully establish himself as a main eventer. So great option to keep Cody Rhodes and Goldust with them tag team titles. You're still giving Cody Rhodes that main event push with them tag team titles. Great option to keep Cody Rhodes and Goldust with them tag team titles, and hopefully Big Show and Triple H can have something to say about Cody Rhodes and Goldust still being the tag team champions, and hopefully it hopefully transpires more of a feud between Big Show and Triple H. So that's a good positive from that match. A lot of positives to take from that match. Cody Rhodes still freaking over with the crowd. Excited to see what Cody Rhodes has got in store for us later on in this year. So for me, great match. 9 out of 10. Perfection for this match almost, except the Usos didn't take the pinfall. Now, the next bit was The Miz coming out, explaining how he wanted Bray Wyatt. Pretty much what happened from here was Bray Wyatt made a promo backstage. It was kind of like a vignette promo thing. And then the lights went on. Guess what happened? The Wyatt family, Eric Rowan and Luke Harper, were behind The Miz and attacked The Miz. It was very predictable. Not really bothered about The Miz getting beat up. The crowd really didn't care about this this fight, really. Because we don't care about The Miz. I think The Miz is well overdue a face... sorry, no, not a face turn. Definitely not a face turn. He's well overdue a heel turn. The crowd really didn't care about this. I think originally they wanted Bray Wyatt to face The Miz at Hell in a Cell to keep Bray Wyatt busy before Kane returned. Well, he did actually return about 5 seconds after this, but Bray Wyatt did get injured, and it just wasn't enough time for them to create this match between Bray Wyatt and The Miz. So this was kind of an idea to play off The Miz and Bray Wyatt storyline, where you can have Kane come into the mix and maybe help The Miz go away. So Kane attacking The Miz maybe make Miz go away from this feud, because it really didn't transpire into a feud after all. So maybe Kane can take over the Miz and have a feud between Bray Wyatt and Kane. So the Miz got attacked and he'll probably go away from this feud. There was just not enough time for Bray Wyatt and the Miz to create a feud. So that's kind of the Miz going away from this feud now, being attacked by the Wyatt family. There's not really much the Miz can do from now on. I hope in this feud can go to bed between the Miz and Bray Wyatt, as Kane's now here, so they don't really need to waste time with Bray Wyatt against the Miz. Now that Kane's back, Bray Wyatt can jump straight back into a feud with the Kane. Now, what was quite predictable was Kane was in fact going to return. Nobody knew when he was going to return, they just knew it was going to be around this time. So Kane did in fact return when the Miz was getting attacked by the two members, Eric Rowan and Luke Harper. Kane attacked Eric Rowan and Luke Harper, and then in the ring chokeslammed the Miz. Now there was a lot of rumours going around that Kane was going to join the Wyatt family. He was going to get possessed by the Wyatt family or join the Wyatt family and turn heel. We're going to get that sadistic Kane that we always love to hate, but honestly, I was quite disappointed with it. I thought Kane looked really, really dead in the ring when he got in the ring. He just didn't look like he had that chemistry that he had when he went away. I don't know what he was doing. He just looked really slow in the ring. He looked really sluggish. It looked kind of like Eric Rowan and Luke Harper were doing the work, and Kane was just stood there. He didn't really have any chemistry whatsoever when he got in that ring. It just didn't flow, whatever they were trying to do. And then he went and chokeslammed the Miz, which was pretty much out of nowhere. I'm not really sure if they're trying to make this heel / face out of Kane, or it was just Kane showing off that he's kind of angry, or it's a heel turn for Miz, or it could be a heel turn for Kane because he didn't really attack Eric Rowan and Luke Harper. I was quite disappointed that Kane returned against Eric Rowan, Luke Harper and the Miz, who aren't really established superstars. This crowd aren't really behind Eric Rowan and Luke Harper as much as Bray Wyatt, and the crowd really aren't into Miz. They don't really buy into Miz. So Kane returning against these guys doesn't really make much of an impact, and I was quite disappointed that Bray Wyatt wasn't in this segment. So for me, pretty disappointing that Kane returns against these guys. He didn't really make much of an impact. It was kind of predictable, and they didn't really explain why he chokeslammed the Miz. So hopefully we explain this. But honestly, quite disappointed at how Kane did in fact return here. Pretty strange. I would have much rather Kane returned attacking Bray Wyatt rather than Eric Rowan and Luke Harper and the Miz, which doesn't really do anything for anybody. Not really that interesting. Didn't really make much of an impact. He just looked really strange in the ring. Not really that great for Kane. So for me, I'd give that a 4 out of 10. So the next match was an unannounced match between Fandango and Summer Rae, defeating the Great Khali and Natalya. And Summer Rae did in fact make her WWE debut. She's obviously been on NXT. I've seen her a few times, and I was actually really, really impressed with Summer Rae when I've seen her on NXT. So I was really happy that Summer Rae did in fact make a debut at a pay-per-view, which was pretty good. So I was interested to see that when they announced it was a mixed tag match, that Summer Rae was the actual one that got the nod as being the diva. So I was pretty happy about this because she's got some good talent in the ring. And I think one of the mistakes they do make with some debuts is they hype it up quite a lot. I think they hyped it with Fandango. He didn't really deliver against Chris Jericho at WrestleMania. I'm trying to think of debuts off the top of my head. Los Matadores, they did type that for a few weeks, and now they're just feuding with 3MB, which doesn't really mean anything. So I think adding Summer Rae into this match unannounced was a good idea because she was pretty good. Nobody was expecting her to be that good. She was okay. She was more than okay, and I thought just adding her to that match, we had no expectations. We weren't expecting anything decent out of this match. And her bringing the game to Natalya, usually Natalya carries matches against Eva Marie, guys like that, divas like that, and Summer Rae was kind of the one giving the offense to Natalya. And the fact that it was an unannounced debut, we had no expectations for this match. And the fact that Summer Rae did make a really, really good impact in this match and show what she's really worth, and did get some really, really good offense, as was the actual one that got the pinfall on the established diva Natalya, the veteran Natalya really put over Summer Rae very, very well. We had no expectations of how Summer Rae was going to debut. We had no hype of this debut. We had no interest in this match whatsoever. But to see Summer Rae take the game to Natalya, a veteran, and get the pinfall, it was a roll-up, but it was a pinfall on the veteran Natalya. They were trying to save Natalya. Hopefully they can give her a title shot against AJ Lee. Maybe that's why they were protecting her with a roll-up. But I was really impressed with Summer Rae, and honestly, I think they should have given this match more time. I thought there was a little bit of comedy genius with Hornswoggle, the Great Khali, and Fandango. But it was all about Summer Rae. I thought she stealed this match. I thought she played a really good part in this match. Very happy with the Summer Rae debut. I'm really interested to see, considering they didn't hype this debut up at all, how Summer Rae fits into the Divas division, considering the Total Divas show will air next month for the second series, how Summer Rae is going to fit into the not the Total Divas, but the Divas division. How are they going to use Summer Rae, considering she had a pretty good debut tonight on the pay-per-view? Because she has some talent, and it's sad to see one of the divas, Summer Rae, has talent when they're pushing Eva Marie and JoJo because they're on the Total Divas show, and they have no talent whatsoever. They're dog awful, and you have a great talent of Summer Rae, a good talent, sorry, I'm not going to hype her up that much, of Summer Rae, who did a good showing at this pay-per-view. So for me, 7 out of 10, very impressed with Summer Rae, and really happy that they did that. I'm trying to kind of hype up what the good things they did at this pay-per-view. That was one of them. So for me, 8 out of 10 for this. Quite happy with that match. And to be honest, the next match which followed was another really good match. An unsurprising good match, which was between Big E Langston and Dean Ambrose. Now, I think when you think of Big E Langston and Dean Ambrose, you think great talents. Any smart mark can tell you these guys are going to put on one good match. And for me, I was actually quite impressed with this match. I thought the first few minutes of this match, I wasn't really impressed with this match. I was pretty disappointed with this match. And then it really got going. I thought Big E Langston got out the blocks very well. And I thought it made for a good match in the end. There was a really good ending where Big E Langston speared Dean Ambrose out of the ring. And Dean Ambrose just walked off. And he got counted out for the 10. But the champion, the United States champion, did in fact retain. But it does look like they're building up a feud between Big E Langston and Dean Ambrose for Survivor Series 2013. Now, the fact that Big E Langston wasn't in the kickoff show, and I was expecting Big E Langston to in fact win the kickoff show and become the new Intercontinental Champion. And the fact that they added Big E Langston against Dean Ambrose into the actual full show, I was like, well, Big E Langston's definitely not going to win. I can't understand why they feel this urgency to add Big E Langston into this show, into this. I didn't understand why they needed to. It felt like they needed to add Big E Langston onto the card. They wanted to keep this momentum up of Big E Langston. They wanted to add Big E Langston onto this card. It felt like they needed to add him onto this show, so they added him up against the Dean Ambrose, the United States champion, who hasn't defended his title since Payback 2013 against Kane, by the way. So adding Big E Langston to this match, I thought it was almost certain Big E Langston was going to win in this match. I thought it felt like they really wanted to add Big E Langston into this card. I couldn't think of any reason why they'd add him onto this card, or it just felt like they were so urgent to add him onto the card. Why would they do that? To book him to lose. But Big E Langston got the victory, but he didn't win against the United States champion. I mean, I can't understand how they were so desperate to add Big E Langston to the card where he wasn't going to win the championship. I mean, the fact that he won was okay, but it was with a count out. The count out doesn't really count as a victory, and the fact that he didn't win the championship doesn't really add anything. It doesn't really add a lot of momentum at all for Big E Langston. But for me, I thought the match was okay. I think, in my honest opinion, I think the ending was cut short because he got busted open when he went for that spear. I think he landed on his face outside the ring. But for me, I was quite disappointed in this match. I thought adding Big E Langston into this match, I thought it was almost certain that the reason why they added into this match was, well, surely he's going to win. They should keep this momentum up of Big E Langston. He should win this title here and keep up that momentum. But obviously he didn't win, so it does look like they'll keep this feud going until Survivor Series, considering the face Big E Langston did win here, but he didn't get the championship. So it gives the opportunity for the face to chase after the heel in this match and create a Survivor Series match. They've got 4 weeks to build a good match, so hopefully they can do this. In my honest opinion, 4 weeks is good enough to build Big E Langston, and hopefully they can really create a good feud between Big E Langston and Dean Ambrose, and in that 4 weeks time, maybe Big E Langston will be ready to lift that United States Championship against a Dean Ambrose who really hasn't done anything in the last few months. So creating a good juicy feud between Big E Langston and Dean Ambrose, a good mid-card feud, can bring a bit of excitement to the US title. So for me, 7 out of 10, disappointing Big E Langston didn't win the US title. It was kind of strange how they wanted to add Big E Langston so urgent to that card when he wasn't even going to win the title, and pretty disappointed in the ending, which I honestly thought deserved a better ending. But maybe it was a reason to do with Big E Langston landing on his face and getting a nosebleed, or they didn't want to ruin Dean Ambrose's momentum, considering he's the only one with the title in the Shield faction. But for me, 7 out of 10 for that match. I think they could have done it slightly better, like I've just explained, but it does leave it open-ended for Survivor Series. Hopefully he can build a good matchup between these guys, and hopefully you can see Big E Langston continue on his momentum in these 4 weeks and finally get the United States title and get some even more momentum, so it gives the face opportunity to chase that title. The next match was the first Hell in a Cell match, which was between CM Punk against Ryback and Paul Heyman. My prediction was CM Punk to defeat Ryback and Paul Heyman, and that's exactly what happened. I think we've all become bored of this feud between CM Punk and Ryback over the last few weeks. Well, in fact, the last few months. I think since Night of Champions, well, SummerSlam, it kind of died out. I think since Brock went away, I think since you had this monumental feud between the Best versus the Beast, I actually got the DVD recently, 2 days ago. I've watched the CM Punk and Brock Lesnar awesome epic match, and I thought that feud was absolutely epic. I think that was one of my favourite feuds of the summer. And I think ever since we had that blockbuster feud, ever since then, it's just gone utterly downhill. I think since Brock Lesnar went away, they wanted an excuse to make this feud go away. But they also wanted CM Punk to stay away from the Bryan and Randy Orton main event feud. So they tried to pan out this feud as much as possible between CM Punk and Paul Heyman. And thankfully, it's come to an end at Hell in a Cell 2013. They've managed to span it out for 4 pay-per-views between CM Punk and Paul Heyman. And finally, CM Punk the face gets the second victory in a row with a clean victory, in fact. And it does look like CM Punk and Paul Heyman feud has come to an end, because after the match, Paul Heyman was attacked by CM Punk on the top of the cell. Now, before the match started, it was only Ryback versus CM Punk, as Paul Heyman strangely used one of those scissor lifts to get at the top of the cell and was just watching the match on top of the cell for the whole pay-per-view. Now, I was laughing my cock off at this, because the guy that was driving the lift could not drive it to the cell, and by the time he got it there after like 5 freaking minutes, it took like half an hour for Paul Heyman to get lifted to the top of the cell, and when he got to the top of the cell, he didn't really do anything. And then through the whole match, they were just padding to Paul Heyman through the whole of the match, just to prove to the fans at home that Paul Heyman still hasn't been dealt with, and that Paul Heyman is still a factor that CM Punk needs to consider after this match. So CM Punk made light work of Ryback. The match itself wasn't great. They never have real good chemistry in this match, and I think Ryback will be lucky to stay in the WWE in a year's time. I think he's not been very impressive. I think it was this time last year, that CM Punk defeated Ryback, that Ryback really went on to a losing streak of pay-per-view losses. And I think, yet again, Ryback's lost another pay-per-view. He'll be lucky to stay in the WWE for another year at this rate, because Ryback gets another loss in a pay-per-view, a big pay-per-view match, probably the biggest pay-per-view match you'll have in the next couple of years. And Ryback yet again loses to CM Punk. Yes, he's the best in the world, and there's the inevitability that the best in the world is going to win anyway, but Ryback loses again. But I think most of the fans were happy about this because it pretty much ends the feud between Paul Heyman and CM Punk. The match itself, the promos have died out. The matches haven't had great chemistry. They haven't been that great. So for me, ending this feud here at Hell in a Cell, the Hell in a Cell, which is always the most climactic, always the pinnacle of feuds, always ended feuds, has ended the CM Punk and Paul Heyman feud, which is great. I'm happy about that. And we could say goodbye to that feud finally. I'm very, very happy about that because I had no interest in this feud. Nobody really cared about Paul Heyman and CM Punk getting his hands on Paul Heyman. So thankfully, CM Punk can say goodbye to this feud and maybe get involved with the Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan feud. I'll be very interested in this. So for me, 6 out of 10 for this match. The match itself is pretty shit. I thought it was pretty bad. I mean, it ended with a elbow off the top rope onto a table and CM Punk getting the pin, which is a good ending. I don't think we've seen a top rope move onto a table for a good few months now. I can't remember the last time we saw that. But for me, CM Punk getting the victory over the heel pretty much closes that feud off. And then him climbing the cell. It was a pretty epic moment getting Paul Heyman. And that's pretty much Paul Heyman put to bed. And I wouldn't be surprised if Paul Heyman drops Ryback after this. I think Ryback's not really doing anything with Paul Heyman. It'll be interesting to see what they do with this. So yes, that's a 6 out of 10 for that. Maybe CM Punk can get involved in the WWE Championship or World Title. I'd be down for either of those. 6 out of 10 for that. So then we had a bit of a cool down match, shall we say, between Los Matadores versus the Real Americans. Nothing really special went on here, guys. You obviously had the faces winning this match. Usually filler matches on a pay-per-view, you usually have the champion win. Example of Curtis Axel winning against R-Truth at Battleground, or you have the faces win to get the crowd even more vamped for the next match to follow it. But Los Matadores kept that trend and won here. Their first pay-per-view match. Of course, they're going to win there. No, it doesn't take it. It doesn't really take anybody with two brain cells to work out that the Los Matadores were going to win here. They've got to keep up their momentum. It's their first pay-per-view match since being repackaged from Primo and Epico. They should be making an impact. They should be gaining some more momentum. So from the first pay-per-view match, they get a win over the Real Americans. I think getting a win over a former US champion and a former, I think it's 2-time world champion, Jack Swagger, puts over Los Matadores really, really well. So hopefully they can keep some momentum. I'm kind of getting bored with the gimmick, to be honest. I don't see it really going it that far. But any momentum, some momentum. And Los Matadores get some momentum. And I was pretty disappointed we didn't see an El Torito Cesaro swing. We didn't see that, but we saw a Cesaro swing onto one of Los Matadores. And that was kind of funny. It went on for like freaking 30 seconds. Apart from that, nothing really special here. It was pretty dumb that Zeb Coulter got beat up by the Los Matadores after the match, because we've seen that like 4 times. I think every time 3MB have faced Los Matadores, one of the 3MB members have ended up getting beat up by one of the Bull, and then Zeb Coulter gets beat up by the Bull. Yet again, are we supposed to believe this bullshit? But whatever, Los Matadores get some momentum. Hopefully they can carry it in to Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown this week. So for me, 5 out of 10 for this match. Nothing really special. A bit of a squash match. A bit of a filler match just to get you excited for John Cena and Del Rio. And hopefully keep some momentum for Los Matadores. So John Cena, yes, he did in fact defeat Alberto Del Rio. I did in fact predict this. I couldn't really see why they put John Cena in this really important world title match. This match where John Cena was returning after 2 months, which is really, really short compared to the 4 to 6 months he originally said. It was such a high stakes match. I could never see John Cena losing here, especially against the bum boy that Vince McMahon likes to have as his face of the WWE. You definitely had John Cena winning here, making an impact. I don't really see how, if John Cena lost here against Del Rio, that he could have recovered. I mean, you've always got to have a returning superstar win, and John Cena kept that trend here, winning And for me, I'm glad that Del Rio possibly is going to slowly die out of this title picture, because he's been in the title picture since January, defeating Big Show for the world title on a Friday Night SmackDown. I do remember doing a review of that, but yeah, it's nice to see that Del Rio has finally been defeated for his world title. I think we're all getting a bit bored of the World Heavyweight Champion being Alberto Del Rio, who does at times lack any kind of charisma or energy within the ring. Giving it to John Cena, who oozes energy and charisma, and one of them great guys who I believe is the 12-time world champion now. Yeah, he's a 12-time world champion and a 3rd-time world heavyweight champion. Hopefully he can bring prestige to that title, which we've lacked, well, I'd probably say since probably Sheamus won it at WrestleMania. I don't think it's really had that. I don't know. Maybe even when Alberto Del Rio first debuted, it really hasn't had. For the last 3 years, the world title really hasn't mean anything. I mean, they've given it to guys like Jack Swagger, Christian, Del Rio, Daniel Bryan slightly too early in his career, Sheamus, some old-timers, Big Show and Mark Henry. It kind of didn't really mean anything. So giving it to a guy like John Cena, who without a doubt is a freaking household name. I can mention it to any of my friends. Yeah, I do have friends. Yeah, a wrestling fan that has friends. But if I mention John Cena to anybody, they know who it is. So hopefully this will get a bit of prestige to the world title. I know a lot of people are a bit bumhurt that John Cena's the new World Heavyweight Champion. He gets handed title shot after title shot. But without a doubt, it's going to add some prestige to that title. It's going to bring some excitement to that title. It's going to bring some new life into that title that we haven't seen since January, or arguably 3 years. And Del Rio was getting boring, that's without a doubt. And I'd much rather see or have our world champion as John Cena than Alberto Del Rio, who Alberto Del Rio puts on good matches, but there's only a few Alberto Del Rio World Heavyweight titles you can see in 9 months. And it was getting a bit old. So for John Cena to win, make a good impact since returning, I'm happy. I don't think the match was given that long. I was quite shocked when John Cena won that title. It just felt like a bit of a glorified Monday Night Raw. I think these guys weren't really given a lot of time. Whether a few of the matches were too long during that match. I think the Ryback and CM Punk match went on way too long. So they had to cut this match short, which was sad because I think Del Rio's put on a lot of consistent matches against Rob Van Dam and Christian in the last few months. And I think he could have really worked a good match against John Cena, who's consistently put on good matches as well against the likes of Punk, Bryan, etc, etc. I think if they gave these guys an extra 5 to 10 minutes, they could have made a good monumental match for the world title, which would have put on the world heavyweight title, would have put over the world title a little bit more, and put over the match, the John Cena victory, over a little bit more, and maybe give a little bit more momentum to Alberto Del Rio that he puts on another great match. But they cut it short, and the ending was a bit dead, to be honest. I wouldn't say dead out because the crowd went really, really wild, but it was quite unexpected and it was quite strange because John Cena went for the FU. I'm not going to call it the AA because I'm not a faggot, but he went for the AA. Del Rio reversed for the cross arm breaker, and then he went for the AA and hit it, and then it went for the 1, 2, 3. For my honest opinion, out of all the times that the AA has been... Sorry, I just said I wasn't going to call it the AA, but all the times the FU has been kicked out in big championship matches like this, I was expecting a kick out from Del Rio, so I don't think it really helped Del Rio. Slightly buried him a bit there, but Del Rio took the pinfall, obviously, by John Cena. It was a bit of a weird ending because I wasn't expecting it to end that quickly, especially with one FU. But Del Rio gets pinned, and I was expecting a Sandow cash-in before the show started, but the fact they were teasing it and shoving it down our throats so much, no chance. You're not going to have that. That's going to come in a few months' time. Maybe they're going to start building, what's he called, Damien Sandow up. considering that he won on the kickoff show, but I wasn't expecting a cash-in. Maybe they'll give John Cena a good 100-day title run, maybe bring a bit more prestige during that title run. I can see him going all the way to Royal Rumble or even WrestleMania, where you see maybe a Punk or a Daniel Bryan winning at the Royal Rumble and facing John Cena at WrestleMania, something like that. I'd be really, really down for that. I'm not going to speculate too far into the future because I don't really like doing stuff like that. I think a lot of people go off. Oh, I've got a bit cramped down here, but a lot of people go off on one, speculating things. It's a bit far in the future. We could even see a Damien Sandow cash in tonight on Monday Night Raw. Who knows? But for me, I like it. John Cena, bring some prestige to the world title. Let's move away from this match. I think it could have been given a little bit more match. Sorry, for the Los Matadores and Real Americans match, I'd probably give... Oh, I did rate that, didn't I? I gave it like a 5 out of 10 or something. For the Cena and Alberto Del Rio match, if it was given a little bit more time, I think it would have been worth an 8 out of 10. But for me, 7 out of 10. I'm happy John Cena is the new World Heavyweight Champion. Give him a bit more prestige to that title. And he could even have a good feud with Damien Sandow. I'm not really sure how they're going to do that. But it's nice to see a World Heavyweight title, a new World Heavyweight Champion, and it's nice to see Cena back with that charisma and energy we always love. I'm not going to sit here and rant about John Cena, the guy who can't wrestle, because he obviously can, and he deserves to be the face of the WWE and deserves that World Heavyweight title. Who else can come back after 2 months of having a shoulder injury? I don't know how bad that shoulder injury was, but there's no doubt that Cena is an absolutely superhuman dude, and he deserves all the respect that he gets. And it's nice to see he's the new World Heavyweight Champion, so hopefully he can go on a decent title run. Anyway, AJ Lee versus Brie Bella. AJ Lee did in fact defeat Brie Bella, which I was very, 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 very surprised at. There were reports earlier in the day that AJ Lee was still sickened or still had a sickness bug after getting that concussion against Brie Bella at Battleground. She did have, I think she went into the turnbuckle at the Battleground pay-per-view and did in fact suffer a concussion or a head injury that put her out for a week. I think she missed a Monday Night Raw and a Friday Night SmackDown, and it might have been a Monday Night Raw after that, and she returned on the Friday Night SmackDown in ring action. Yeah, it was like that, and she went on the whatever. Anyway, AJ Lee, there were reports earlier in the day that AJ Lee hadn't had any sleep for the past 4 days, and she was still ill. So that added to my suspicion that they might give the strap to Brie Bella, considering AJ Lee might not be in that fit shape to maybe carry on the Divas reign for another month till Survivor Series. I was kind of wondering maybe they'd give the strap to Brie Bella. Maybe she could hold that title for a good month whilst AJ Lee was recovering from whatever head injury she still has. But AJ Lee did in fact retain her Divas title. There were rumours that AJ Lee was going to be added to the Total Divas cast, and I thought that would have been great considering it's going to be airing next month for AJ Lee, a new star, to be chasing that Divas title against Brie Bella, who's probably one of the prominent divas on that Total Divas show. Considering it's airing in the next month, for one of the Total Divas to have the Divas belt would be one hell of an idea. So for me, I thought Brie Bella really should have had this match, and considering that they put Brie Bella yet again in a carbon copy of the match which is at Battleground, made me wonder that they'd make Brie Bella win this match so that it wasn't just a stale and boring match which we got at Battleground. But AJ Lee retained again, which just makes the Divas division, sorry, not the Total Divas division, but the Divas division even more dead. You've got AJ Lee just knocking off any single diva she can touch. It's getting a bit ridiculous now that AJ Lee yet again is defeating another diva and another Total Diva, boring these Total Divas so much. But she's knocking off every single diva, and yeah, they're building AJ Lee as this person who's so untouchable. They're building this freaking awesome diva without realising that you can't build one diva on her own. You've got to have somebody to challenge that diva, and every single time she's knocking off a diva, and it's making the Divas division even more dead. And don't even get me started on Tamina Snuka. I don't even see what they see in Tamina Snuka pairing her up with AJ Lee. But AJ Lee knocking off these people in squash matches which hardly last any time whatsoever. It's just getting ridiculous now. I think AJ Lee needs to drop that title belt to somebody like a Natalya or a Brie Bella, who are two people who I think deserve to have that title belt. I'm not saying that AJ Lee deserves to drop it, but I think she deserves to have a good feud. I mean, the last time we had a good Divas match was against Caitlyn, at the Payback pay-per-view when they had some good build towards that match. It proves that AJ Lee can have good matches when she's built well in matches. And there's good storylines behind it. But you can't create good storylines when AJ Lee's the only believable diva out there. You've got to have somebody else believable. And making AJ Lee knock off these divas like they're flies isn't really helping any diva except herself. You can't have one diva just owning the divas division. So for me, I think the option should have been for Brie Bella to win this match. Now, the fact that you already had Cena pick up the title and Randy Orton was... Well, it was obvious that a new WWE champion was going to be crowned. They didn't want 3 championships changing on one night, which I understand, but maybe at Survivor Series you might see Natalya pick up that Divas title. I'm not particularly sure, but I think AJ Lee needs to drop that title as soon as possible and pick it up along the line within the next few months to create a good feud. But I was disappointed with that match. I thought Brie Bella should have won that match. All the things I've talked about, I think Brie Bella should, or it was the time for Brie Bella to win that match and maybe close off a good 2013 with a good Divas match. But for me, I thought the actual match was pretty good. I thought it was pretty exciting. Considering we've had some pretty shitty Divas matches since Payback in June, I thought this match was up there in one of the best matches compared to some of the matches we've had between one of the Bellas and Natalya, which is okay. I think it was a good match. I thought it was a good Divas match considering we've had some pretty shitty Divas matches in the last few years. So for me, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Wasn't really that happy that Brie Bella didn't win, but I'll get over it, I guess. But then the main event came between the WWE Champion Daniel Bryan and WWE Championship match between Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton. And I thought this was one of my favourite matches out of these guys' matches. I think the Night Champions match, it was okay. The Battleground match was even worse. This match, I think it took the biscuit. I think it was actually a pretty good match for what we saw of it. I think it started at 30 minutes to go until the show actually supposedly ends. So they were only given a 15 to 20 minute slot to have this match. I thought they used the time well. I thought there was a good superplex into the middle of the ring where there was loads of chairs. If I was going to rant about that bit, was why in the first place was Daniel Bryan getting out all those chairs in the first place? I mean, it was pretty obvious they were setting up that spot, but how are you supposed to believe that that spot was realistic? You can't really believe that that was a realistic spot when who in the right mind would get out 40 different steel chairs and just put them in the middle of the ring without having in mind you want to set up that spot, which felt a bit weird and not really naturalistic. But that was just a little rant I had about that, the fact that you just threw loads of chairs in the middle of the ring, which didn't really have any meaning to it whatsoever, which later down in the match did set up a good spot, but it just wasn't very realistic. But the match itself was pretty good. I thought it was pretty entertaining. It was very, very fast paced. I don't think they really talked about Shawn Michaels during the match until Triple H came out. I thought they kept it quite quiet. They let these guys wrestle. They let these guys do their work, their craft in the ring, and they let these guys do what was right for business. They let these guys have a good match. They let Shawn Michaels stay out of the way. They let these guys have a good wrestling match. And then what happened was the superplex happened onto the steel chairs. Randy Orton went for the cover on Daniel Bryan because Daniel Bryan was the one that was superplexed onto the steel chairs. They didn't actually hit it correctly, hence why they didn't actually show a highlight of it. They showed meaningless highlights throughout the whole show. This was one of the things that they didn't highlight because they didn't actually reach the steel chairs. It was only Daniel Bryan's foot which reached the steel chairs, which I'm thankful for because he would have been absolutely decked if he hit the steel chairs, but they didn't show a highlight of that. Randy Orton slivered to the cover and Shawn Michaels got a 2.5 fall for that, a pinfall on the superplex. And then Triple H came storming down saying that was clearly a 3 when it actually wasn't. It was obviously a 2.5. And that kind of spiraled into a thing where Triple H was distracting Shawn Michaels, having a go at him. Randy Orton went for another cover, which quite easily could have been a 3 count, and Shawn Michaels obviously didn't count it because he was distracted by talking to Triple H. And that spiraled into a thing where Randy Orton was pushed into Shawn Michaels by Daniel Bryan, completely accidentally, so Shawn Michaels went down. Triple H scrambled into the ring through the door. He got a referee to help him through the door. And from that point on, I was like, no. We're going to have another false ending. We're going to have another crappy ending. We're going to have another shitty ending. And I was right. As soon as Triple H got into that ring, the crowd were booing. We knew we were going to have a false end. We knew we were going to have a crappy, shitty end, which is going to make this feud go on for even longer. It was just a terrible... We just knew we were going to have a terrible ending. As soon as Triple H went in there, we knew we were going to have some kind of screw job by Triple H. And the crowd were just pissed before it even happened. Because as soon as Triple H went into that ring, he went to help Shawn Michaels up. And what spiraled from then on was, as soon as Triple H turned round from helping Shawn Michaels up, Daniel Bryan hit the knee that knocked off John Cena at SummerSlam. Are they going to give that name? Are they going to give that finisher a name? But are they actually going to give that finisher that Daniel Bryan hits on people a name instead of the finisher that hit off John Cena to win the WWE Championship? Daniel Bryan deserves a name on that finisher, but he knocked off Triple H with that finisher. Daniel Bryan hit Triple H with the running knee that knocked off John Cena to win the WWE Championship at SummerSlam. And then, as soon as Shawn Michaels saw that Daniel Bryan did this to Triple H, Shawn Michaels, the inevitable happened. Shawn Michaels turned on Daniel Bryan and sweet-shimmed him. The guy that he apparently trained, even though he only went to his wrestling school. Daniel Bryan only went to Shawn Michaels' wrestling school. I predicted that Shawn Michaels was going to turn on Daniel Bryan. They bigged it up. They did a double bluff. They said that Shawn Michaels didn't have a problem with Daniel Bryan. He didn't understand why everybody had a problem, such as Triple H and the corporate bosses had a problem with Daniel Bryan. And it was obvious, it was obvious to a mark that Shawn Michaels was going to favour Daniel Bryan in this match. And he didn't. They were preparing for the swerve, so that they didn't even mention Randy Orton in a good way throughout all the promos that Shawn Michaels had. They made Shawn Michaels attack Randy Orton. They made him say how he hated Randy Orton. And they were just never mentioning Randy Orton in a good light, which made you believe that swerve's going to happen. Well, I predicted the swerve was going to happen, and it did. Shawn Michaels sweet-chinned Daniel Bryan. He turned on Daniel Bryan. He didn't necessarily help Randy Orton, but he turned on Daniel Bryan, the guy that he'd bigged up so much. The swerve happened, and he turned on Randy Orton. Sorry, he turned on Daniel Bryan. That's the only thing I really liked about this main event match was the predictable, which was kind of the unpredictable, did happen. I always like a good swerve, a good thing which makes the crowd go, holy shit. I like that bit. I thought, even though it was predictable, the unpredictable, whatever you want to call it, it was kind of predictable, but it was also unpredictable at the same time, if you kind of get me. You knew something was going to happen, but you didn't know that thing was going to happen. There's a few things in the WWE that you know is going to happen, but you knew that something was going to happen, but you didn't know that was going to happen. And I think the way it happened was unpredictable. I thought they played it out quite well. You didn't think Daniel Bryan was actually going to hit off that Triple H. You didn't think Shawn Michaels was actually going to sweet-chin Daniel Bryan, really, in that way. But after he sweet-chinned Shawn Michaels, sweet-chinned Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton got the cover. HBK hesitated, but he got the 1-2-3 pin, and we have a new WWE champion being Randy Orton. Now, for me, there's going to be a lot of people on the internet saying, well, previewing Raw, that Shawn Michaels was in it with Triple H. They all knew what they were doing. But for me, I only see the reason why Shawn Michaels did this was because he saw his best friend, Triple H, gets hit in the face by Daniel Bryan. That's the only reason why I see this. I don't see any storyline coming out of this where Shawn Michaels sold out and he was actually all behind it. He was contracted by Triple H to do this. I just see the fact that Daniel Bryan turned on Triple H, so Shawn Michaels thought, we're going to do that to my best friend, I'm going to do that to you. But I don't see any backstage thing that they had behind this. I just think like it's a normal screw job thing, which didn't really have a lot of meaning towards it. I don't think anything's really going to come out of this. I just think I was just pretty pissed off that we didn't have a clean victory. I think this really should have had that exact thing happen, or something where Shawn Michaels turns on Daniel Bryan for some reason, like this, where Daniel Bryan, well, basically, the exact thing happened where Daniel Bryan turned on Triple H. Well, he didn't really turn on Triple H, he just gave a kick to Triple H. He did that to Triple H. And then Shawn Michaels switched in Daniel Bryan because he did that to his best friend. Randy Orton goes for the cover, Daniel Bryan kicks out. Daniel Bryan overcomes the odds, maybe gives the knee to Randy Orton. Shawn Michaels is still obliged to give the pinfall because the only reason why he switched in Daniel Bryan is because he did it to Triple H. So he was returning the favour to Daniel Bryan by switching him. So he's still obliged to do the pinfall. So when Daniel Bryan goes for this pinfall, he wins the WWE Championship. Imagine how over Daniel Bryan would have been by technically defeating 3 guys in the cell in his first Hell in a Cell match, finally defeating the WWE Champion technically cleanly for Daniel Bryan. That would have put over Daniel Bryan so well, and we would have all wanted a clean victory for Daniel Bryan because we're sick of seeing this feud. We're sick of seeing these terrible endings. We wanted this feud to end at this show. Usually the Hell in a Cell is the pinnacle of feuds. We wanted this to end the feud. We wanted a clean victory. We wanted Daniel Bryan to win this. We wanted the face to win this. Finally get the victory and end this feud once and for all. We didn't see that. We saw the heel win in a crappy ending, which was kind of slightly predictable. We don't like to see unclean victories, especially for a heel, where we've already seen it twice already. It's just not right. We don't like it. We wanted a clean victory for Daniel Bryan. Like I just said, I think if Daniel Bryan overcame the odds and did what I just said, it would have put him over so well. But they didn't do that route, and it looks like we might have this feud yet again at Survivor Series, which isn't great. I'm not really down for that. Makes me wonder why they still think we're into this feud. But for me, I'd give that a 6 out of 10. I thought the match quality itself was pretty good, but the ending was shocking, and how they still believe that we're not going to get pissed off by another shitty ending is absolutely outrageous and unbelievable. And a heel picking up the WWE Championship is outrageous as well, I think. If they're going to end this feud, which they 50-50 chance they could, then I always thought the reason why they were doing this feud between an 11-time world champion Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan was, at the end of the day, to put over Daniel Bryan so well. But at the end of the day, Daniel Bryan's not the WWE champion, and they could quite easily close this. They could quite easily close this feud off tonight and not go anywhere further with this. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. And Daniel Bryan still hasn't had that big WWE Championship win. He still hasn't had a good title run. I thought the whole reason why you were doing this feud was to put over Daniel Bryan in the long run, but you made the 11-time world champion Randy Orton, who really doesn't need it, win. I don't understand where they're going to go from this. Is Shawn Michaels turning heel? What are they going to do with this feud? I have no idea. I'm just pissed off that we had that shitty ending. I thought it screamed a clean victory of Daniel Bryan and finally put over Daniel Bryan as much as possible. Probably the biggest way you'll put over Daniel Bryan in his career. But for me, that closed off a pretty shitty pay-per-view. I think I'm glad John Cena won. Apart from that, a few of the matches were pretty poor. I thought Cody Rhodes and Goldust retaining was a pretty good idea. I thought Damien Sandow winning was a good idea. I thought Kane's return was pretty shitty. I thought Summer Rae's debut was okay. I thought it was pretty good. It was a filler match though. B. Langston winning, but not really a good win, was pretty shitty. CM Punk won, closing off that feud, but we weren't really interested in that feud anyway. Los Matadores winning in a pretty bit of a filler match, and AJ Lee retaining. Very surprising, but for me, I'll be lenient. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I think there's things they can do with this pay-per-view. It's nice to see a few of the feuds have gone away, and it's nice to see a world title feud coming to light. Finally, a good United States title coming to light. Kane returning, Goldust and Cody Rhodes gaining more momentum and getting even more over with the crowd. Damien Sandow getting even more momentum. There's some positives, guys. You've got a new World Heavyweight Champion. There's some good positives that you can take from this, but there's also some big negatives you can take from this. A shitty ending to the main event yet again for the third straight pay-per-view. The heel winning Daniel Bryan still not getting that WWE Championship win. Getting screwed over and over again. Are the crowd still interested in Daniel Bryan winning the WWE Championship? Are we still expected to get behind Daniel Bryan for a 4th straight pay-per-view match? Are we still expected to think that when he does win a match, that he's not going to get screwed over yet again? Are we really? Kane's return was pretty strange. How are they going to do that on Monday Night Raw? The filler match between Fandango, Summer Rae, the Great Khali and Natalya was a bit of a waste of time. It was nice to see Summer Rae debut, but it was a bit of a Monday Night Raw match added to the pay-per-view. Biggie Langston defeating Dean Ambrose, ending quite strangely, but there is places they can go with that match. CM Punk defeating Ryback and Paul Heyman was too long. They gave this match too long. And I like how they've ended that CM Punk feud between Paul Heyman, it seems, but yet again, the fans weren't really given a Paul Heyman versus CM Punk feud, which is disappointing. Los Matadores versus the Real Americans, a Monday Night Raw match, really. Los Matadores getting some more momentum. Hopefully they continue this. Cena winning the World Heavyweight title, gaining some momentum. A Big Bang returning in 2 months. He is really Super Cena. Gains respect from me. Brings some prestige back to that world title, hopefully. And Del Rio finally out of the world title picture since January 2013, can you believe? AJ Lee retains her Divas title. Not really the right choice for me, but they're still building AJ Lee up, and she's becoming even more phenomenal after every pay-per-view. And the WWE Champion, Randy Orton. The new WWE Champion, Randy Orton. What do we say? 7 out of 10. What do you guys think? Post in the comments. Thanks for watching. Take care, spite your hair. This has been another review from your boy, Tom Cushnie. Thanks for watching. Take care, spite your hair. Post in the comments your thoughts on this show, your review. What do you think? It's been your pleasure for doing this review. I'm absolutely knackered of being doing an hour review. Thanks for watching. This has been Tom Cushnie. The best reviews and predictions and reviews and everything like that on WWE. Thanks for watching. Take care, spite your hair. Like the video, subscribe, comment, everything like that, and goodbye.